There's really no new news when it comes to the Microsoft Activision deal, so I think I'm gonna chill on this subject for a bit because I want to look more into the handheld devices, which is Sony's Q-Lite versus Logitech G cloud gaming service. But today I'm gonna just give a little recap all the way up until the current development of this Microsoft deal. I did watch some of the Sony showcase. I started watching it halfway through, but I did see these 3 games during the showcase that I'm interested in checking out, like Alan Wake 2, Phantom Blade Zero, and the Metal Gear Solid remake. I've played most of the Metal Gear Solid games except the last one, but for the Sony showcase, although most of what I saw was subpar, keep in mind, whatever game Sony heavily promotes, best believe that those games are designed around their console, DualSense controller, and Pulse 3D headset. So, since Sony has a lot of single-player games, Call of Duty is their multiplayer partnered exclusive that they've had for about 8 years. Just from a business standpoint, I would be pretty upset about this buyout myself. Let's look at it like this. Let's say you own a gas station, right? And your gas station has been in business for years using the same refinery since you first opened your doors to the public decades ago. You have built a relationship with this oil company, and one day some guy just decides he wants to get into the oil business and build a gas station down the street from where you are. This guy also gets his gas from the same refinery as you. At some point throughout your competitiveness, the other gas station owner decides he wants to buy the refinery that you get your gas from. Then he comes to you and say, hey, I'm trying to buy that refinery you've been using. After everything is finalized, you can continue to use the facility up to 3 years. That should be enough time for you to find a replacement. You're going to buck against them for trying to snatch the plug. In this case, it's Call of Duty. That's a legit argument. As we move away from that, now we are waiting for Microsoft's response to Sony's showcase, and they better deliver an outstanding show. Even though Sony went first, that doesn't give Microsoft enough time to put together a masterpiece with only weeks to prepare and to analyze what Sony did. Because presentations can take weeks, months, years, depending on the type of presentation because of so many changes throughout the course of the project. So all they can do at this point is kind of tweak their showcase and put their best visual representation at the forefront. This is their one chance to outperform Sony by having a few extra weeks to work on their presentation. While in the background, the beef rages on between Microsoft and Sony over who should have exclusive rights to Call of Duty. Sony only wants Call of Duty. However, Call of Duty being a part of Activision, Microsoft is not having that. They want it all. Sony concerns are not Microsoft concerns, but the FTC supports Sony in cloud gaming concerns, and Microsoft and its investors have FTC concerns. Speaking on these concerns, here's a quick update on that Microsoft Activision, CMA, CAT, and FTC acquisition. Microsoft had a preliminary hearing with the CAT earlier this week. No mention of the former Sony lawyer in the appeal, in which that might upset some people. The final decision from the CAT is planned to start their 10-day proceeding the week of July 24th. It was originally scheduled for July 17th. The CMA was asking for a fall hearing, stating that they needed more time to prepare defense. This request was denied by British High Court Judge Justice Marcus Smith, while the FTC is building a case against the acquisition, and they are closely watching and documenting this entire process while they wait for their turn to step up to bat. The FTC is scheduled to present their evidence against the acquisition on August 2nd. This has billionaire investor Warren Buffett worried. He became so concerned that prior to the UK block, he started selling some of his Activision Blizzard stock. He also made this statement.
You don't take on the United States government, and you try and figure out things that you won't have a problem with. And I think in that case, the U.S. government made a mistake. I think the British government's making a mistake in this case.
As a reminder, Microsoft did say this back in March. Microsoft considers that a period of 10 years is sufficient for Sony as a leading publisher and console platform to develop alternatives to COD. And the rest is just saying that whatever games that you have after the 10 years, you can keep it. This is the entire beef in a nutshell with Sony. Already owning 60 to 70% of the cloud gaming industry does sound like a takeover, literally. Microsoft is $1 trillion company. When you have that much money, it no longer becomes about the money. It's about power, especially if you can spend almost $70 billion on a company. It's all about control. This is where the FTC think they have a strong case against Microsoft. The FTC's job is to try and stop a company from having too much control. That's all, and that's it. I'm from the US, and for those that's from another country, the FTC doesn't operate the same way that these other countries operate. The United States government can be ruthless, and they do not discriminate. Just ask President number 45 when he refused to leave the White House.
He will not give up power. Under no circumstances will he give up power. He intends to serve at least 2 more terms.
If he loses this election, he's going to leave the White House, either voluntarily or with a little bit of help.
But that's pretty much the rundown. There's no real reason to drag this conversation out because it's just a waiting and speculation game at this point as we watch from the sidelines. But to wrap this video up, the latest on Redfall. I did a video a few weeks ago where I mentioned the developers not being comfortable putting out an unfinished product. Let's revisit that video real quick. Just look at the state of Redfall. Everybody knows what's going on with that game. And I'm damn sure that the developers didn't want to put that out like that. That's probably why so many developers are leaving. Like, we can't shine here. Look at what they doing to our games. It's not even working on next gen. You know what I mean? Like, it looked like the game was developed by some interns who just landed their first internship. And what surfaces weeks later? As the Microsoft acquisition of Bethesda and all of its studios loomed, Arcane devs allegedly hoped that the tech giant would either cancel the game or allow them to reboot it. There's other studios that indirectly go public to let you know Microsoft, Xbox, and Phil Spencer is not going to throw us up under the bus like that. Also, and I want you to keep in mind that the future of gaming extends well beyond 10 years. Thanks for watching, and until next time, peace.